Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to Moscow, and welcome to my local shopping center here in Moscow. It's called Solaris, and I thought I'd show you what New Year's Eve shopping looks like in Russia. In particular, I want to go to the supermarket here and show you what it's like literally a few hours away from New Year's Eve. Let's go check it out. What I want to do is show you just how many people are out and about today. This is the last non-working day before New Year's Eve and New Year's Day in Russia. And this is when traditionally Russians celebrate the holidays. And just to show you how many people are here at my local shopping mall. Now, this isn't Avia Park. It's not the largest shopping center in Russia. It's not perhaps even in the top 10 largest shopping centers in Moscow. One interesting fact, it is larger than any shopping center in Australia though, which is a very unique thing. And I've been here thousands of times before. I've done this exact walk into the shopping center a lot of times. There is actually a metro station directly underneath this shopping mall. So a lot of people would have come from other parts of Moscow to come here shopping. There is also a lot of housing districts in the nearby area as well. Now for me, it's about 30 minutes away by bus to come here. And this is my immediate largest shopping center to come to. So I think just to show you the crowds and show you that there is people in Russia and in Moscow shopping for New Year, and to show you the amount of people that are in the shopping centers before New Year. I think always jewelry is very popular. Now I'm going to do a very brief walk around of this lower ground floor, which is where most of the traffic is. There is actually 2 levels to this shopping center. Has around about 200 shops in total. If you are watching this video on my channel and it's perhaps the first one you've watched before, I'm actually an Australian who lives here in Moscow region, and I make videos about normal, typical life in Russia. And leading up to New Year's Eve, this is as typical as it gets, and the amount of people in this shopping center. Now, it's really important to note that this is the last non-working day, and people will be back to work tomorrow, and then New Year's Eve will follow right after that. So a lot of people do want to come shopping today, and I hope in this video you can get just a little brief insight into how Russians like to come shopping on the weekend and how they celebrate New Year's Eve here in Russia at the same time. It's probably very difficult to give you a perspective of how big this shopping center is. There is a lower ground floor where there is parking as well. The entire underneath of this building is underground parking. And then there is street parking outside also. And then of course people like me come on public transport. And really, just to show you how many people are coming shopping today, I think like anywhere in the world, people leave their shopping for Christmas and New Year in Russia to the last couple of days. And it's always evident here in Russia when you can see how many people are coming through the shopping center today. And hopefully it comes across in the video as well. This is where we do want to go in a few minutes, to Globus. This is a very well-known hypermarket chain in Russia. It's actually a German-owned supermarket. It's not Russian. And this is still very typical of a supermarket. It's in a lot of the cities of Russia beyond Moscow. And I think we need to see really how many people are in here and just how serious people take shopping before New Year in Russia at the same time. Of course, it would be very easy to go down the under sanctions route with this video and talk about all the shops that have closed, all the shops that have left. However, this being my local shopping centre, I've seen all of that happen and all of that come and go. And then now there isn't a single empty shop in this shopping centre. Literally every space is taken by either the original Western brands that are still here in Russia or other brands that have taken their place. And every shop has people in it today. Every cafe has people having coffee and drinks. There is actually a holiday market in the center area of this shopping center. Very impressive, this middle part of the shopping center and the roof that covers over the building. I think for a lot of people the holiday gifts are coming slowly to an end, and a lot of people will have found gifts. Still got a day or so to be able to give them to people. A lot of the things in this middle part are actually things that are themed around New Year. A lot of decorations, a lot of winter items, a lot of things for gifting, which is really nice. Also lots of decorations. A lot of people in Russia don't put their tree up until the last week of December, leading into January. So a lot of people will be wanting to buy things like ornaments and things for their tree right now. Ded Moroz is actually here, and he's looking over at me, filming at the same time, and people wanting to take some photos and selfies with him and hopefully whisper to him some holiday gifts that they might like. Ded Moroz getting a selfie right under the tree. How nice is that? Really and truly. Of course, this shopping center is very large, and my main goal of this video was to walk into Globus. I actually need to buy a couple of things myself to take home. On the upstairs level, there is a very large food court. There is cinemas, children's play areas, there's a gym. The supermarket actually also has 3 cafeterias at the same time. And there's a nice place you can get pizza from the cafe here. And just to see the amount of people walking around and coming and going, you can see people with full shopping baskets. Now, a lot of people will come here by car because there's a very large undercover car park underneath the whole building. I was just curious to see how many shopping baskets are over there, and there's still a few. There will be a point where there isn't any. Most people use these hand trucks that you see rolling by, and these are the more popular option for shopping. Now, I want to walk in this end, and we'll end up out the other end. And this is a supermarket, and a Russian typical supermarket as well. And this is very large at the same time. It does get called a hypermarket quite a lot. I still like to call it a supermarket. It does have a mixture of non-food items at the same time. So you can get yourself a vacuum or some drinks right here. You will see throughout the whole store how they've fitted the holiday theme into the whole place. On this left-hand side is their normal, the seasonal items that they've set up. So there's a lot of kids' toys on this immediate left-hand side. So a lot of people will be buying gifts to give for New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day. And then people also celebrate Christmas in January in Russia as well. So there is actually a holiday decoration section here on the right-hand side, and we'll have a look at this as well. I did actually cover this in another video, but we'll just briefly walk through here. Again, if you're wondering about Christmas trees or New Year trees being on display at the end of December, a lot of people do start setting them up now in the next day or two, and then have them up through January. So that's why people are still coming shopping now to buy trees and decorations for our apartment. We've had ours up now for 2 weeks because we also celebrate the Christmas on December 25 with my wife. This is a very large supermarket. You can get very sidetracked coming in here wanting something and end up with a basket of things that you maybe didn't want. They've got pickles right here at the entrance. And then the other themed area they've got here is with things like chocolates and teas and coffees and lots of gift packaging of items. It's a little bit torn apart now and probably how it was this morning, because there is a lot of people coming in here. I know my wife needed to get some gifts, and I also need to buy a couple of things to give to people as well. There isn't so many people shopping in the cat and dog section. I think most people are focusing on themselves for the new year coming up. There's only a couple of people thinking about their cat. Of course, Jack Daniels is definitely here in Russia. He's got his visa sorted out so he can stay. So there is 2 different alcohol sections. This one is where they've got the wine, champagne, and spirits. And what they do is they just put whole pallets on display here. Whiskey. There is some cognacs as well. I think a lot of people know Ballantine's as a brand. And then all of the other spirits at the same time. So lots of people will be stocking up for the month of January. There is pretty much a 10-day holiday starting from New Year through the first week of January. And everybody's coming to find some different alcohols. You can see the Jack Daniel's section empty almost there. All the other American whiskeys, all the rums. And then there is literally aisles of wine and champagne, plenty of gin and vodka at the end. Let's just see now. All the people behind me are shopping for spirits. And then this might be a good test of how many Russians are buying vodka. And there isn't a person at the vodka section whatsoever. And I can buy a bottle of Stoli for $2, or the bigger bottle for $7. There is, of course, many choices. It's just interesting, all the people who are shopping for international spirits, and nobody is in the aisle looking for vodka. There is way too many choices of wine in this shop. I think it's 3 aisles of wine. Thankfully, they've got it all set up by country of origin. So if we need Italian wine, we have more than enough choices. And then all of the red and white wines. The champagne section, which is always in this spot right here on the right-hand side, they've got champagne spread out through the entire store today. So this may not look as busy here because you can grab a bottle pretty much in any aisle that you're walking down. On this opposite left-hand side, they've got all of the gift box alcohol. So all the stuff that's generally a bottle and then some glasses or some kind of extra accessory with it. And these are very easy gifts to give to people. You can get them in every brand of alcohol that you possibly want. And then also some cognacs and armagnacs as well. And if you're wondering if the Bacardi brand left Russia, Dewar's is part of the Bacardi family. They are definitely here and stocked up as well. You can get a bottle for $10 for Dewar's. There's a bit of a mixture here, a lot of rums and tequilas all spread out. Finally, somebody buying vodka in Russia. One lady is buying vodka from Sweden. We see Absolut. So in Russia, they didn't pull all the Western brands off the shelves like they've done in other countries. This back wall is also gift candy. And then the overflow or overstock of alcohol is over here on this side. And they've even got pallets that they're bringing out to refill it. It's really incredible the amount of people. I actually came here early this morning and then I went off to film 2 more videos, and I've come back on my way home. I literally just have to walk out to the bus station and get a bus home from here. So bottles of champagne from $3, and then any price you like really for champagne. You can pay a few dollars up to as much as you like. There is actually a shelf of mini bottles of champagne where these ladies are looking right here, and it's literally a glass of champagne and you can get a whole bottle for a few dollars. Everybody wants the mini bottles. This back corner is all of the cool drinks, chips, juices and water. Not as many people. Over at this end, always you'll see the guys just never ending their job of refilling all of the sections. And then where you see everybody parked up with their trolleys, people aren't going up and down the aisles like they would in Western supermarkets. They park up in the middle, go and grab something, then come back to their trolley. And then people are shopping in groups so they can do the whole list at the same time. And I think from here, if you look back down the length of the supermarket, you can see how many people are in here shopping. And you'd have to say it's 3,000 to 5,000 people in the whole supermarket, between where I've walked in to the exit at the opposite end, the beer section. So on the left is a lot of the traditional beers. Then here on the right is all of the boutique beers. Actually quite a lot of empty shelves. It's just a matter of how quickly they can refill everything. A lot of the beer in Russia is sold by the bottle or by the can. So you just buy as many as you want. If you just want 1 or 10, you grab whatever you want. Plenty of choices of beer. And again, you'll see the champagne just piled up everywhere. This is on the end cap of the toilet roll section. And they put some champagne right there. Let's have a look in the cake section. Everybody wanting a cake to celebrate New Year. I'm curious, coming now in the afternoon, if it was busier now than it was this morning when I came. I had to grab something this morning to take with me. So it's just interesting, the difference in the amount of people. Literally about 7 hours difference of when I came here. All the beautiful cakes. So this is the bakery section. So there's a little bit of packaged bread, which is coming from outside bakeries that aren't made locally. And then there is a very large 24-hour-a-day bakery in the back here. It's probably hard to see how big it is. And the amount of things that they make in here, so breads, cakes, pastries. And there's the room over at the back here with the glass windows. And you can buy all the cakes by weight. And they're literally just making bread like you can't imagine. It's hard to give you that feeling of how busy the store is when I'm walking around like this. All of the classic loaves of bread here. I like to call this social bread, because the government is very proactive in keeping the price of bread down. So you can get a classic loaf of bread for only 20 cents or 30 cents. It's very inexpensive for the more basic loaves of bread. If you want to make your own, you can buy the dough right there. These are what we buy a lot, these bread rolls. Very easy. So hopefully you can get a feeling of just how busy it is. They recently put the tables here so you can actually buy a cake and something to eat and actually sit here in between shopping. This is recently that they put them on this little section. Over on the right here is all of the cleaning section, then a lot of the things for your house, kitchen, anything you need, pots and pans, plates, all that sort of stuff. And then let's head on to another part of the store. One thing I will say as I'm walking around, because I've been here hundreds and hundreds of times before, the shop isn't as tidy and beautiful as it normally looks. And when I've made other videos in here, you know, the shop just looks pristine. And it's had an absolute busy day today, probably one of their busiest days of the entire year in terms of how many people would come shopping. This is the chocolate aisle here with all of the bars of chocolate on the left and right hand side. We can still get Picnic here in Russia. We can get all of the Western candy bars except Kit Kat. So if someone can tell me what's going on with Kit Kat versus every other chocolate bar in Russia, I'm very curious to know. They have the pay by weight candy here on the left hand side. This is a very popular thing. You just buy a small bag or a handful of candy and you can put it in dishes on the table for New Year. What I'm trying to do is do one lap around the whole store just to give you a bit of a feeling of how busy it is and people's sense of urgency to shop today, because people will be back to work tomorrow and then New Year will happen. And the amount of people who have literally saved on their calendar to come shopping today. This is the cheese section, and all the way down you can see all the staff at the back there that are preparing the cheese into portioned sizes, and there is more than enough choices of cheese. You would probably have about 200 types of cheese between this section right in front of me, and then there is another 2 aisles of cheese here off on the left hand side. It's really a very interesting place to come shopping. I've been here so many times. I actually have lived in Russia since before the shopping center was even built, so I'm very fortunate to know this place intimately. That's the right word. And we move on from the cheeses, and then we come into the hams and salami section. And all the ladies are back there putting everything into the portion sizes. And then on the left over here is all of the traditional packaging of hams and meats. There's actually some cheeses here on the right. And then these middle display fridges. What I really want to show, more than just specifically the food, is the amount of people shopping. And very traditionally in Russia, or very typically, people shop daily. And they may be shopping for today or tomorrow, and that's it. And a lot of people would just go to a local shop, like I have in my building or in the next building. And coming to do bigger shopping like this is not as typical, except during the holiday times like right now. So that's why you see so many people trying to make informative decisions about what they want for New Year. And also most people will be shopping not only for the New Year table, which we will have at midnight on the 31st, but normally the leftovers for a day or two afterwards. There are so many types of hams and smoked meats in this supermarket. It's too many choices. So you can choose the packaging as big as you like or as small as you like. And they can also slice it into small, manageable sizes. And smoked meats and hams are hugely popular for New Year. Everybody's trying to find their favorite, or if not, they're trying to find their second favorite. And just the amount of choice. I would love to show you empty shelves, and the under-sanctioned title would be the first thing you read and the first words on the thumbnail of the video, but it's hard to do that because you come to a place like this, and even with a few thousand people in the store, it can more than manage this many shoppers coming in here and people trying to decide what to buy. So these black baskets are the more traditional ones that people will use. I use this because I'm going to carry a bag home and not use a car. So people that have got the full baskets and the larger baskets will generally have a car in the car park underneath, and then we'll drive home. And we come down here to the fish section. So there is some frozen fish in these refrigerators here on the left, and then the fresh fish and smoked fish on the right. And there is more than enough choices of smoked fish. This is hugely popular for New Year. And then all of the salmon off in the distance. There's also some packaged seafood as well. The crab that we'll use in our salads. We've actually got an overflow fridge here for the different types of cheeses and gift packaging as well. And I hope by using these wide shots, it gives you a bit of perspective of how much of a panic people create by shopping so close to New Year here in Russia. The one thing that a lot of people do for New Year, they'll have a table and you'll set it up leading up to midnight, and then there'll be the president's speech on television and the chiming of the clock in Red Square. And then after the midnight chimes, people then tuck into the New Year table, and a lot of people have it as a buffet style. So lots of people want many, many things on the table. So you're either coming in here with a list, or you're completely ignoring the list, and you start out with a few things that you need, and then by the end you're with the full basket of food. Here you'll see all of the fresh fish and salmon. Where are the aquariums? Just here in the back. There's no fish in the aquariums. What's going on? All this beautiful salmon though. There is plenty of choices. A little bit of a line of people wanting to find something as well. So you can do this barbecue style, or you can bake it in the oven. Lots of different ways that you can cook the fish. There is an aquarium with some fish in right there. There's also some mussels as well, or clams. What are they? Not too sure. And then as I keep walking around, we make it to the butcher's section. I will say this quite a few times, and the word typical is very noticeable in all my videos. A lot of Russians will go to local food markets or rynoks, and a lot of people will have their normal butcher that they'll go to, and they'll go there for certain meats, and meats in supermarkets aren't as popular. Now, they have a lot of very nice meat in here, and I've had pork in here before, beef in here before. However, a lot of people will go to a butcher because of the freshness. The turnover of food in this supermarket, you wouldn't even doubt how fresh everything is because of how much they're selling through on a daily basis. They have a very popular sausage section right here with all of the different types of sausage meats. And again, it's all by weight. So you let them know what you want. They'll slice it off exactly to the weight that you want. You don't have to buy unnecessary amounts. Either way, it'll still get eaten. They have very nice sausages in Globus, I will definitely say that. I finally found somebody who's got a list. And I think everybody starts out with a shopping list, and then by the time you make your way around this very large supermarket, the list has been blown out quite a fair bit because you suddenly see something that you didn't write down as we come into the fruit and vegetable section. Now, depending on when you walk in the supermarket, you'll either come in from the fruit and vegetable end where we are now, or you'll walk in that far end where we started the video, depending on which way you come in the shopping center. And the way you buy fruit and vegetables here is you actually put it in bags, and then there's a scale where you put the number and you get the ticket for it, and that way you can then just scan it at the register to leave. And also you buy the size and weight of something that you want. Plenty of staple items for New Year. Let's keep walking through. Now, I know I shouldn't be walking through all the busy parts, but the point of the video is to show you Russians shopping before New Year and show you the urgency of everybody wanting to get in here and find what they want and make sure they've got a full table for New Year's Eve. And hopefully I'm showing that, or you get a feeling of that as I walk around. I'm here a lot later in the evening than when some people might have come shopping this morning. And it's of course very difficult to give you a sense of that because people are coming shopping in Russia 7 days a week. And shops, depending on where you live, are open from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. So I'm only here for a small snippet of time. But I think it gives you a bit of perspective. The favorite fruit of the holidays is mandarins. It's a matter of finding the good ones amongst the endless pallets of them. There's even more oranges as I've walked around. I think they've even just put pallets out like this. I don't think they normally do it this way. I think just to get things from the back and out on display. You can choose mandarins from anywhere you like in the world, not just local ones. They come from other countries as well. I always wonder, being that it's a German-owned store, what influence it has with importing products to the shop. There we go. The trolleys part and we can all walk by. We can even get pineapples for New Year as well, grapes. Regardless of the season, everything is more than available, as you can see. And then the amount of people shopping at the same time. There's only 5 varieties of grapes in the middle of winter. My wife called me a little bit earlier and asked about dinner, and she suggested that we have some chicken. So I need to actually have a look for this afterwards. Everybody in this chicken section of the fridges. And then these are the baskets, the very popular hand trucks. So a lot of people will be probably on a train or a bus to go home when you've got the smaller baskets. It's a good way of knowing how many people drive here and how many people catch public transport here. Because if you've got a car, of course you can buy more. You can fit more in the basket to go home and then literally just go underground. And then all the people who catch public transport like myself, they'll probably have come from Moscow and then head home from here. And there will be a small amount of people who have come to this shopping center, especially for Solaris where we are, and to come to Globus, because you can get everything in one shop. You don't need to go shop around too much. This is the prepared food section. We quite often buy the roast chickens from here. At the end, there's also some other prepared foods. We quite often buy the lasagna here as well. And they also have the salads. They look a little bit empty compared to normal. I really hope the camera is doing the store justice and just how busy it is and how many people are here shopping. And there is no actors today. I didn't manage to find enough to come on the days leading up to New Year. So these are all genuine, real shoppers. And you can see that by walking around. People are very focused on shopping and not necessarily turning around and staring at the camera as often as people do. All of the fruit is always very neat and tidying here, and then you just see pallets that have just been dropped everywhere, which is definitely not as typical. Product of Morocco. The oranges. So there is a lot of domestic fruits and vegetables, even with the different seasons here. Of course, there's the south of Russia where they've got much warmer weather than here in Moscow. Have a look. We can even get mangoes right here. Very nice. Trying to see on the box where they're from. Brazil. Mangoes from Brazil. Rolling off right there. I'm always curious where a lot of the fruits come from, because the vegetables I can understand. There's a lot of domestic things, and then all of the seasonal fruit has to come from somewhere. I know the staff here in Globus really do pride themselves on keeping a beautiful shop, but you can see the urgency of them wanting to get the trucks unloaded and then into the shop to make space out the back for more deliveries in the coming day. And to see just the pallets stacked up here of the very common vegetables, it's very un-Globus-like, but this is necessary in a shop like this when you've got thousands of people pretty much emptying the shop on an hourly basis. We come to more of the staple foods and the things like flour, sugar, salt, canned foods, and sauces and things like that. And then the same thing again, they've just got pallets stacked on the end of the aisles right down to this main walkway here. And of course, I think myself and all the shoppers really aren't bothered, because we want to come in here and buy what we can and buy what we need and then get out of here. This is the dairy section on the left. It's all the things like yogurts, milks, creams, and then everybody trying to decide what to buy and find. And let's have a look at the very popular mayonnaise and egg section. Is it as busy as I was thinking? Perhaps not. There's a lot of choices of mayonnaise though, so if they only had one or two doors of display, then it would be much emptier. But because they've got so many choices, everybody can spread out as much as they like. So there's eggs here on the left that are refrigerated, and then most of the multi-pack eggs are on the right-hand side on the shelf. So boxes of 20 or 30 on this right-hand side. I've got some smaller packagings as well. So there is no shortage of eggs leading into New Year. I don't think we'll see that on the news this year at all. Plenty of stock. I perhaps need to figure out what I need to buy to bring home myself. I'm too busy admiring the shop. If you're not aware, I come from a retail background. I worked in shops since I was 14 years old. I worked on cruise ships in retail shops on board ships. I also did merchandising in supermarkets. I also did new store builds, petrol station builds. So retail is all I know. And a lot of people question about that I talk too much. But I'm a born salesman. And I think once you are, then you're locked in as a salesman forever and a day. And I just want to show that by doing these walkarounds and showing you different retail shops in Russia and shopping centers as well. And I think, or I hope it comes across in this video, one of the differences I think a lot with Russian shopping is a lot of people typically shop just for 1 or 2 days, and I've talked about that a lot in other videos. And people don't shop for 1 week or 2 weeks. So a lot of people are shopping as close to the holiday as they can because they want the freshest things. They want the food that they want to eat tomorrow or the day after. And they don't want to buy something and think ahead 1 week or 2 weeks. Whereas in Australia, for instance, you would shop weekly. And that's the very more typical way to shop. Let me know in the comments, do you shop daily? Do you go to a supermarket once a day or twice a day sometimes? I think the convenience of shops in Russia is what's created that habit. I have 7 supermarkets within walking distance of my house without even having to come to Globus. And I could literally walk from my building to another building and do my full shopping without even coming here. However, if I want the selection and the choices and the different amounts of products, then I choose somewhere like this. One reason you don't see my wife with me today is she doesn't like shopping on New Year. She doesn't like coming to busy supermarkets. A few days ago we were actually at the shopping center and she wanted to buy very specific things. So I got her out to Avia Park, the largest one in Russia. But she would not like coming to the supermarket on a day like today when everywhere you're looking there's somebody looking ahead of you, and then the lines at the checkout are another thing altogether. And she'd happily just walk downstairs from our apartment and shop at our local shop or go to our local market, which is another 5 minutes walk away. So if you're wondering where she is, she's staying well clear of the shops today. As I slowly come to the end of the video and go and do my shopping and then head on home, I hope this was a good insight into Russian people's shopping habits and how people shop for New Year and for the table that will be laid out on New Year's Eve, and the buffet and feast everybody will be having to celebrate the end of the year and the coming year. I need to get some mandarins. I need to figure out what I need. When I walk around filming, it's much easier, but when you want to actually shop yourself, you start to confuse yourself what I should be buying and what I want to carry home on the bus. I was just heading towards the checkouts and then I noticed here the aisle with spices, and everybody of course buying meats and chickens and things like that and porks. People want to marinate things in the oven, and lots of people trying to find something ideal for marinating. And all of the very traditional aisles here, things like sauces, ketchups as well. I do feel like I'm getting in people's way. Nobody buying pasta for the new year. It's really interesting which aisles are empty and which are busy. And I think, of course, pasta is very not traditional New Year food in Russia. And the registers are a little bit hard to give you a perspective of how busy they are because they're so deep and so long. So generally there is 5 or 6 people queuing at each register. You can see again all of the drinks at the ends here. So it's a little bit difficult to give you a perspective. There is probably about 70 checkouts between the self-checkout and the normal registers. And there isn't many lights switched off today, so everybody is running through. Coca-Cola is more than in stock. It has gone up in price, I will admit that, but the logistics to get it here from another country has caused that to happen. So you can still choose. You can buy imported Coca-Cola or domestic colas as well. And of course the well-known Italian candy. It's a bit hard to give you an idea of how busy the registers are because they've got so many open today. The whole right hand side has got every checkout open, so there's even some that have got just a few people at them. I think a lot of people who would come here very typically aren't used to it fully open like this. I was hoping to show you crowds at the checkouts, but people are still walking around and still shopping and filling their baskets. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video and this walk around of my Russian typical supermarket, and of course from way back at the beginning where I walked in, and just to show you the amount of people that are here in this shopping center leading up to New Year. And I hope it's a good insight, and to show you people do shop, people do buy things, and the amount of food that's purchased on the days leading up to New Year is something that I can't comprehend, even if I base it on people shopping at Christmas time in Australia. And this is just one supermarket, and we have another 200 shopping malls where you can go to a supermarket and shop, not just this one. This is my local one, so I think it's interesting. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments how this might compare to where you go shopping. Do you do anything for New Year other than perhaps pop some champagne? And do you have a feast at midnight like we do here in Russia? That's the one thing everyone looks forward to, I think. Not really the shopping, more the eating afterwards. And then if you'd like to follow me on Telegram, the link to my channel is coming up right here. You can click that and join me on my Telegram channel. And if you want to see an old video on the channel, one's coming up right now. You can watch that and keep traveling with Russell. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.